Dr. M. Laxmidevi, Associate Professor in the Department of CSCDS. Today's topic is decision making statements in C. So that too simple if and then if else statements we'll be covering in this video lecture. So in this module, in second module, we have the topic named as control structures. So in control structures, we are going to study about decision making statements, then loop control statements, and then we have unconditional control structures. So what are they? So that we'll be discussing in this video lecture. So first let us see what is the need and necessity of control structures. So generally in C program we write set of instructions, or those are nothing but set of statements. So these statements, the order of execution of these statements is sequential. So unless and until, so sometimes in the program, so there is a requirement of decision making, or these are the different requirements of the program. So sometimes it is needed to alter the flow of execution of the program, and sometimes it is required the same operation or the same set of statements to be repeated for fixed iterations, or whenever the condition does not satisfy, the control has to be transferred out of that block. So that's why we use control structures. So in order to perform all these operations, we use control structures, or the other name for this is control statements. So in C programs, statements are executed sequentially, that is the order in which they appear in the program. But sometimes it is required to alter the flow of execution, or it is required for the same operation or same set of statements to be repeated for fixed iterations or certain number of iterations, or whenever the condition does not satisfy. So in such situations, what we'll do is we will use control statements. So with the help of control statements, so these statements enable us to specify the order in which the various instructions in the program are to be executed. So how the control is transferred, so that is dictated by these control statements. So that's why they define the order in which the statements are to be executed in the program. So these define how the control is transferred to other parts of the program. Sometimes consider the case of real life example, like suppose your mother has asked you to bring a brand of milk. If that milk is not available, then she may give you a choice to bring another brand of milk. So this type of decision making is involved is encountered whenever we write programs also. Programs are nothing but these are written to perform a specific task. So these are the different types of control statements in C language. So first one is decision making statements, then the next one is loop control statements, and the last one is unconditional control statement structures. So decision making statements we have, so in this we have if statements, and then another one is switch statement. And in loop control statements, we have different types of loops. So these loop control statements are used when we want to perform the same set of operations or same set of statements are to be executed repeatedly, then we'll use loop control statements. So these loop control statements, in order to use these loop control statements, we have the keywords like while. So there is while loop, then for loop, then do while loop, etc. Then in unconditional control structures. So unconditional control structures, so these are the keywords which are used are, the keywords which are used are go to, then break, continue. So this depends upon the condition. So if the condition is true, or for how many times or for how many iterations a certain set of statements are to be repeated, under what condition the control has to be transferred out of the loop. So that is defined by unconditional control structures. So these are the different unconditional control structures we can use in a loop. These are go to, break, then continue, etc. So these two, in today's video lecture, we will discuss in detail about decision making statements. So in decision making statements, we have if statement and switch statement. Then if statement, so let us see what are decision making statements. So decision making statements, they evaluate one or more condition and then take the decision whether to take or whether to execute a set of statements or not. So here in decision making statements, conditional expression will be there. We have to specify the conditional expression. If the condition is true, then certain set of statements are to be executed. If the condition is false, another set of statements are to be executed. So by using decision making statements, you can execute statements or select some statements to be executed based on outcome of the condition. So in conditional expression, there will be outcome of this conditional expression. So based on the outcome of this, if it is true, certain statements will be executed. If it is false, another set of statements will be executed. So here outcome in the sense, it can be either true or false. So outcome can be either true or false. So true in the sense, in C language, true refers to if the return type of this conditional expression is non-zero value or non-null values, all these are considered as true. So if the outcome of this conditional expression is false, so that refers to false in the sense the return value is either 0 or non-null, or it is a null value, sorry. So false in the sense it will return either 0 or null value is considered as false in C language. So this is the flowchart, or you can say this is the illustration of how the program execution or how the control is transferred. Control is transferred from one part of the program to another part of the program by means of decision making statements. So here as soon as the program encounters some decision making statements, so it will check for the conditional expression. So if the conditional expression is true, so whatever the statements are written inside this conditional code block, so those statements will be executed. If the condition is false, so if the condition is false, the next statements after the conditional code are to be executed. So if the condition is false, the next statements after the conditional code are to be executed. So let us see, there are different forms of if-else statements. So in decision making statements, we have if statement and switch statement. So in order to alter the flow of execution of the program, or in order to control the flow of execution of the program, so we have two types of decision making statements, if statement and switch statement. So if statement is based on evaluation of a condition, and switch statement, so here we use equality check. So there are different forms of if statements. So the if statement can be implemented in different forms depending upon the complexity of the condition which is to be tested. So these are the different forms of if statements which are available. First one is simple if statement. Next one is if else statement. So next one we have nested if statement. So there are various forms of nested if statement, and then else if ladder. So these statements are used. So when we have only one option, so there we can use only if statement, and if we have two options or two tasks to be performed based on the evaluation of if else condition, so we can use if else condition. If there are multiple conditions to be checked, so for that case we can use nested if statement or else if ladder. So let us see in detail. So description about first one, simple if statement, what it does. So if the condition is true, so as we have seen in the flowchart, so first there are different forms of if statement, how the if statement are executed. So first condition will be checked. If the condition is true, so whatever the statements are written inside the if block, then those conditions will be evaluated. So those statements will be evaluated. So here if the condition is true, then the code or the statements, these are the statements in the if block. So statements inside the if block are executed. Next one we have if else statement. So if else statement, so there also condition is checked. After that, so if the statements are true, if the condition is true, then the statements inside this if block are executed. If the condition is false, so it will go, if the condition is false, then another set of statements which are there in this block, so those will be executed here. After that, the program will come, the control is transferred to out of this if else statement. Next, nested if statements. If statement inside another if statement can be used if code is to be executed when multiple conditions become true. So when multiple conditions are to be checked, so there we use nested if statement. Then if else if ladder. So if else if ladder is also used if multiple conditions are to be checked in the program. Now let us see the syntax of simple if statement, and also we'll be seeing the syntax of if else statement, and then we'll see some programs for if statement based on if statement and some programs based on if else statement. So let us see we'll see the syntax first. So if statement in C programming language is used to execute a block of code only if condition is true. So this is the syntax here. So here if is the keyword. If is the keyword, or you can say it is a reserved word. So if, and then in braces we have the conditional expression. So in this conditional expression, the outcome of this will be either true or, so it can be either true or false. If it is true, if the condition is true, then it will return a non-zero value. It will return non-zero value. If it is false, it will return zero value. So here in if statement, we will be checking only if whether the conditional expression is evaluated to true or not. Only if we get whether it is a non-zero value or not. And the conditional expression, as we know, expression is nothing but combination of operands and operators. So suppose we have two variables, two operators are there. Suppose we have two operands A and B. So these are the variables or operands you can say, and this one is the operator. Then mainly in this condition, to evaluate this conditional expression, the operators which we will be using here are relational operators. Relational operators. So what are relational operators? So here you can check my video, C tokens part 2. So there we have discussed in detail about the different types of operators which are there in C language. So in relational operators we have, these are the different operators: greater than, equal to, less than or equal to, then equality operator, and then inequality operator. So these are the different operators. Apart from this, we can also use logical operators also. So logical operators we have seen and, or, not, logical not, etc. So these are the different operators we can make use of in conditional expression along with the variables. So these are the followed by, after that, curly braces. So inside this curly braces, whatever the statements are there, so those will be executed if the conditional expression is evaluated to true. Now let us see one example for this. So before seeing the example, first the conditional expression is evaluated. So in this syntax, so we have used conditional expression. So order in which the program is executed is given here. First, the conditional expression is evaluated. If the conditional expression evaluates to true, that means if the condition here evaluates to true. For example, if we have taken two variables A and B, A is equal to 3 and B is equal to 4, and we are checking that A is less than B. So in the conditional expression we use relational operators. So here A is less than B means 3 is less than 4. The condition is true. So if the condition is true, then the statements of the if block are executed. So in this statements, we can write whatever is to be printed. Then if the conditional expression evaluates to false. So what if the condition becomes false? Then the statements of the if block are skipped and the statement after if block is executed. Then the control is automatically transferred out of the if block. Then this is how the control or the flowchart is for if statement, or how the control is transferred in if statement. First, the conditional expression is evaluated. If it is true, then the statements inside the if code block, the statements inside the if block are executed. If it is false, if the condition is false, then the statements after this if block are executed. So let us see one program for this. So this is a simple program. So we know that uh, in order for a student to pass in a particular subject, if the maximum marks are 100, he should get more than 40 marks. So he should get more than 40 marks, more than or equal to 40 marks. Then he is pass in that particular subject. So for example, we'll write a program for this by making use of if statement. So this is a simple program. So where if the student is getting less than 40, then he is if the marks are less than 40, then he is considered as fail. If the marks are greater than or equal to 40, then he is passed. So we can write this by using simple if statements. So consider here marks is a variable. So marks is a variable which stores the marks of the student. So here marks are nothing but integer data type. So they belong to integer data type. So in the printf statement, so output of this will be, so as soon as we execute this program, so you will get enter your marks. The cursor will blink here. Then by using scanf statement, so this scanf statement reads the value of marks into the variable marks. So whatever the value which we are giving, suppose we are giving 35. So that will be stored in the variable marks. So 35. Now the control is transferred here. The control is transferred here. The program will check. Now if we have a if condition. So after scanf function, the control is transferred to if block. So if there is after that there is a condition. So condition specified is marks less than 40. So marks less than 40. So the marks which we have entered are 35. So these are less than 40. So 35 is less than 40. So this is evaluated to true. So outcome of this expression, this relational operation is true. That means it returns a non-zero value. So it is true means, so whatever the statements are written inside this if block. So these are the statements corresponding to these are the statements corresponding to if block. So these will be executed. So marks which we have entered is 35. So that is less than 40. It evaluates to true, and then after that the control is transferred inside the if block. So here we have written a printf statement. That means you failed. So 35 is less than 40. That means you will get the message as failed. You failed. So this will be printed on the screen. After that, there are no statements inside this program. So program will get exited. Or program execution will be stopped. So this is how the if statement is illustrated with the help of the simple program. So we can write another program also where with the help of where we can check this condition. So if suppose the student wants to know whether he has passed or not, so that we can specify with another condition. So let us see one more program. Same program, we'll make a small change here. So we know that if these are the maximum marks and marks greater than and pass percentages, if the marks are greater than or equal to 40, then the student is passed. So we'll write a program for this. So same program will make use of. So we have to declare a variable marks. Then after that into main function. Then printf, enter your marks. Then scanf. This scanf function will read the marks entered by the user into the variable, and apart from that we also have to use the ampersand symbol. So what this scanf function will do here is, so it will read the integer data type into the variable marks. Then after that we are using the if statement. If now based upon this marks obtained by the student, so we'll check the condition. If the marks are greater than or equal to 40, then printf passed. So this is the end of the. So these are the statements which we have entered in if statement. And after that, end of the program. So this is a program. So So previously what we have done is, we have checked the condition that whether the marks are less than 40, and based upon that we have written some statements inside the if block. Now same program we have modified. So what we have done here is, so we are checking whether the student is passed or not. So for that we have to specify the condition marks are greater than or equal to 40. The next is, here opening and closing braces are optional. If the block of code inside if statement, it contains only one statement. So if we have only one statement, so as you can see here, inside the if block we have only one statement. So in such cases you can skip the curly braces, opening and closing braces. So for example, if conditional expression statement 1, so after that semicolon. So this, if the condition is true, this statement will be executed. Otherwise, the control is transferred to the next statement, which is written after the if block. So in the above example, only statement 1 will get executed if the conditional expression is true. So in this way, after checking, so if the block of code inside the if statement, it contains only one statement, then no need to use this opening and closing braces. So these are optional. Next one is if-else statement. So if-else statement, so for example, you went to a market and your mother has asked you bring some fruits. So then if there are apples, if she asks you to bring apples, then if there are no apples, then what is the choice, or what you are supposed to bring? So if she gives you another choice, like if there are apples, bring apples. If there are no apples, then bring oranges also. So this simple example you can consider the case of if-else statement, so that you can implement here by using if-else statement. So another example for this is, suppose you have to write a program in order to check whether the given number is even or odd. So for that case also you can use this if-else statement. So when you have two options, so there you can use if-else statements. So let us see what is the syntax, and with the help of an example we'll understand this if-else statement. So if-else statement in C programming language is used to execute a certain set of statements if the condition is true. So it is just an extension of if statement. So in the if statement we have checked the condition, and if the condition is true, the statements below the if statement are executed. So if the statements are not true, if the condition is not true, then what will be the situation? So in that case, the statements inside the else block are executed in case of if-else statement. So if-else statement is used to execute a set of statements if condition is true, and execute another set of statements when the condition is false. So only either if block or else block of code get executed, but not both. So in real life case you have either or. So all those examples can be implemented by using if-else statement depending on the outcome of the condition. So only either if block or else block, not both. Both of them will not get executed. only if block or else block of code will get executed depending on the outcome of the condition. Now let us see the syntax for this if else statement. So syntax is if, then inside this braces we specify the conditional expression if, or you can specify if the condition is checked. After that, inside the curly braces statements or block 1 you can say, then else. So here no need to specify the condition again. Statements block 2 and then end of this curly braces. So this is the syntax for if else statement. If the condition is true, then the statements inside this if block will be executed. If the condition is false, so then the statements inside this else block will be executed. So as you can see here, so this can be a single statement inside the if block or set of statements you can have. If there is a single statement, no need of using this curly braces. Similarly here also, if there are single statement, if there is only one statement to be written here, then no need to use these curly braces. We can skip these curly braces. Only if we have more than one statements to be executed here, then we have to specify these curly braces. So here, first the conditional expression is evaluated. If the conditional expression is true, then statements block 1 are executed and statements block 2 are skipped. If the conditional expression is false, then the statements inside block 2 are executed or else block statements are executed and if block statements are ignored. So let us see the flowchart for this. So this is how the control is transferred when the program encounters if else statements. So first, if condition is checked. So if the condition is true, then the statements inside this if block are executed. If the condition is false, then the statements inside else block are executed. So after this, the next statements which are there after the if else statement, so they are executed in the program. Now let us understand it with the help of one example. So same program we'll consider here also. So here we have used, suppose the maximum marks of the student are, maximum marks for any subject is 100 and in order to pass he has to get more than, a student has to get more than, marks should be greater than or equal to 40 means that is passed. If the marks are less than 40 means he is failed. So previously we have checked only one condition. So based upon that we have printed whether we have printed the corresponding statement. So here we are declaring a variable marks and then on the screen this string will be printed, enter your marks. After that the user will be prompted to read or to input the value of marks. So into the variable named as marks here. So marks belongs to integer data type. If the marks are, now comes decision making statements. So decision making statements, we are making use of if else statement. So if we have if else statement are defined by, or these are specified in the program by using the keyword if and else. So if, after that we specify the condition. If the marks are less than 40. So this is a relational operator and this is a conditional expression. So if the marks are less than 40, then the message to be appeared on the screen is failed. So that is to be printed. Else, so in the else block we have written, so if the marks are less than 40 is failed. So that else, if the marks are, so this implies that if he is not getting less than 40 means he is getting more than or equal to 40. So in the else block we can write that he is passed. So this is the end of the program. So this is a program. So suppose when you execute this program, the output of this program is enter your marks. Then we have to enter some marks. Suppose we are entering 45 here. So now the control is transferred here. So when we, after scanf function, the control is transferred here. When we enter 45 here, so it will check. So in the variable marks, so this 45 will be stored in the variable marks. So if the marks are less than 40, so marks here is 45, it is less than 40, this is false. 45 is less than 40, this is false. So therefore, these statements inside the if block are skipped and then it will go to else block. So now it will print passed. So 45 means passed. Output of this program will be passed. So in this way, you can make use of if statements and if else statements to write to make some to make decision making statements in the program. So there are other statements also. There are other forms of if else statements also, like nested if. We have nested if, and then else if ladder also we have. So these are used to check multiple conditions in the program. Now let us see one more example for if else statement. So this is also a simple program. Suppose you need to check. Suppose the user is entering any character and the user has to the program. There is a program written for whether the entered character is alphabet or not. So that we have to check whether the given character is. So this is a program to check whether the given character is an alphabet or not. So in order to do this, so we have written a program. So there is a variable character. So we have defined a variable character. The data type of this is char because we have to enter character data type here. So data type is char here. Then by using scanf function, some character value will be read into this variable. Then after that we have to check the condition. So the user will enter some character. Suppose he is entering M. Suppose the user is entering M here. Now this condition is checked. Now see here. So in this condition, we have used relational operator greater than or equal to. Apart from that, we have also used logical or operator also. So any character which is entered, if it is, so we know that A to Z, small a to small z, and capital A to capital Z. So these are alphabets. So these are alphabets. So other than that, whatever the characters are entered, so those are not alphabets. So we have to check the condition that we have to check this condition. If the given character is in between, so that is what we have done here. If the given character, entered character is greater than, should be greater than or equal to A, and it should be less than or equal to Z. So so this is logical or operator. This is logical or operator, or so this is also an alphabet. If the given character which is entered, so that is greater than or equal to capital A, and it should be less than. This is also logical operator. This is logical and. So if it is less than or equal to Z, then printf. So inside this block we have written, inside the if block we have written the given character is an alphabet. So else, if the user is not entering, if the user is entering any, suppose the user is entering this symbol, this is also a character, then what? Then also there is a need to print some message. So this is there in the else block. So it is the given character is %C is not an alphabet. So here %C refers to the character. So in this way we can write a program to illustrate the use of if-else statement to check whether the given character is an alphabet or not. So here in this if condition we have made use of logical or, logical and then relational operators also. Suppose the user is entering capital A here. So capital A means after scanf function, the control is transferred here. So capital A means, so the entered character is greater than or equal to A. It is equal to A. So therefore it will print this A is an alphabet. Suppose if we enter some other character dollar or some one, if you try to give, so if the input given is 1, then this condition is not satisfied. Then it will come to else block and it will print that this 1 is not an alphabet. So in this way, we can execute this. We can check whether the given character is an alphabet or not. So in this way, we have seen in this video lecture, we have discussed about decision making statements in C language. So that is if a simple if we have seen, then after that if else statements we have seen. So there are other statements also. There are other forms of decision making statements involved in if statements. So next one is nested if, and then after that we also have else if ladder. So these two we'll be seeing in the next video lecture. Apart from that, we have also one more decision making statement, switch statement. So this also we'll cover in the next video lecture. So until then, thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.